AITA for not wanting to make my future brother-in-law a groomsman? I am not the original poster. That is you, AITA, throwaway 018. He posted in r, am I the asshole? Trigger warning. Racism. Bullying. Less than. Mood spoiler. Communication seems to win out. Hopefully. Less than. Original post. March 30th, 2023. My fiance, 25F, and I, 29M, are from the same hometown, but we never went to school together. I graduated high school the year before she started at the same high school. I did, however, go to school with her older brother, 30M. Her brother was a bully to me during our entire school careers. He made fun of me for being fat and nerdy. He would call me racist names. They're Italian and I'm Indian. So he had a lot to say about that. And he was just overall terrible to me. I figured once we graduated, I'd never see him again. And for the most part, I was right. I went off to college out of state. And then ended up going to graduate school as well. During my first year in grad school, I was a TA for a class. And I noticed one of the girls who I thought was very smart and very pretty. But obviously I couldn't go out with her because of our positions. Well, right after the semester ended, I ran into her at a coffee shop off campus and we chatted for a bit. She ended up asking me for my number. And then she actually asked me out a few weeks later. We've been together ever since. At the start of our relationship, I had no idea who her brother was. They have a very common American last name, so it's not like that was going to do anything. Eventually, we figured out we were from the same town and we went to the same high school. At which point she asked me if I knew her brother and I said I knew of him. But not well. I probably should have told her what her brother had done to me at that point. But I was too embarrassed. So I kept it hidden. Things really came to a head when she introduced me to her family a year later. Her brother actually called me by the same nickname he liked to use to bully me. And then made a few semi-insulting remarks towards me again. My fiance, girlfriend at the time, noticed and called him out on it. And he just explained that that was how we always talked before. I told her it wasn't a big deal since I didn't want to cause any drama. We got engaged 3 months ago. Recently, we were talking about wedding plans and stuff with her family, and he asked me when I was going to ask him to be a groomsman and if I was doing anything special. I deflected, and after the call I asked her about it. She explained that her brother expected to be made a groomsman, since she was making my little sister and her sil bridesmaids and he made her a bridesmaid in his wedding. I told her about why I didn't like her brother, and she said that she understood, but it was still right to make him a groomsman. I said no again, and she got pretty upset about it and said her parents were going to be mad. I was also annoyed, so I texted her family group chat to say that he wasn't going to be one under any circumstance. And now they're all mad at me. AITA? Relevant comments. You need to rethink this relationship. I'm not going to rethink my future with her just because of her brother. OOP's comment is heavily downvoted. She called him out for saying things when we first met, so I wouldn't say she's okay with it. I mean, I know that pretty clearly. What kept me alive was telling myself I wouldn't have to keep dealing with this once I went to college. But I've gotten past that trauma for the most part. I just don't want to be re-triggered during my wedding. Really, what you said about this being a glimpse into the future has me thinking though. I would normally say that I believe my fiance would take my side over everyone else. But now, I'm less sure about it. Have you had an in-depth convo with your fiance about this? I've already told her exactly what her brother did to me. I gave a complete recount of my middle and high school years and told her every single thing he did, as well as the things I suspected he did but had no idea whether it was him or one of his friends. More info about the wedding. I don't blame my fiance. Her parents are paying for a lot of the wedding, even the part of the wedding that they have no interest in. Indian weddings are pretty huge, and they've already agreed to pay their share of it, even though their guests are only going to be a quarter of the total guest list. And they don't even mind paying for the extra events that we're going to have that aren't a part of a normal American wedding. I think they just expected me to do the same as their daughter-in-law. Wait, was the bullying racial in nature? Yay, partially. Well, at least he doesn't body shame me anymore. But that's probably because I've lost a lot of weight since then. My fiance has really helped me on that end. More info on OOP's feelings. I don't think it's a stupid hill to die on. They're Catholic, so we're going to have a ceremony in a Catholic church. And I feel like if I know he's standing behind me when we're at the altar, I'm going to feel absolutely terrible. Like I don't want to be saying vows and he's right there behind me. The other thing is that I'm going to be having my groomsmen wear some traditional Indian clothes for the Indian events and part of the reception. I don't feel right about having him wear stuff like that when he's made fun of my culture before. Besides, I once wore one of the things we're going to be wearing to school for picture day in middle school, and he made fun of me for it relentlessly. I have no doubt he'd make fun of the clothes at the wedding too. I don't want to be ashamed of my own culture at my own wedding. Finally, someone points out that, according to other comments, he met her family 5 years ago and has waited until now to speak up about how badly he was hurt. Instead of laughing it off, I was just trying to avoid causing drama or make her want to break up with me. Edit. 1 hour later, I texted my Bill and told him that I felt like I deserved an apology from him. He said he had nothing to be sorry for. I told him that I didn't even want him at the wedding and the only reason he was going to be there was because he had to be. Everyone is even more angry with me now. I know I shouldn't have said that, but he really upset me with that. I feel like I have to fix this. Edit 2. 3 hours later. So I showed my fiance this post and she had an actual panic attack reading through the comments. She kept repeatedly asking me if I was going to break up with her and then she kept saying sorry. I think the comments telling me to reconsider the relationship and consider whether or not I wanted to actually have a future with her really got to her. She's yelling at her parents on the phone right now. I have no idea whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Edit 3. 5 hours later. So my fiance's parents decided they wanted to talk to me after my fiance yelled at them. Her mom apologized straight away and said that she had no idea we had such a history. And although she believed his comments had always been wrong, she thought I was okay with it. Her dad also apologized but tried to talk about how family was more important and I should let this all be in the past. I said I couldn't. And he started getting really angry at me. And now all three of them are yelling at each other again. Well, mostly my fiance and her mom versus her dad. And I'm starting to feel really guilty about this whole thing. OOP is voted NTA, with a majority of people telling him this is a hill worth dying on, and that he needs to rethink his relationship. Update post. April 17, 2023. 18 days later. So, I think things have been mostly resolved, and I wanted to give an update on the situation. I decided to take some of the advice that I received, and to finally stand up for myself. This was all a bit too intense for me, and her mother reached out to arrange a family meeting, which happened last Saturday. Her mom actually said she wanted to clear the air since she wanted her family to be able to spend Easter together, and that included me as well, even if I don't celebrate Easter. So on Saturday, we went over to her parents' house. It was just us, since I asked to speak with them without her brother around first. Basically, we sat them down and told them that there was no way her brother was going to be a groomsman. And right now, He was pretty close to being disinvited completely. Her dad started to protest, but my fiance backed me up, and then I just went through everything he had ever said or done to me. And then straight up asked him, if our children, your grandchildren, told you someone treated them like this, how would you feel? That shut him up. And I think he realized that our kids were going to look like me and could go through a lot of the same things. That got him on our side. So when her brother arrived, all three of them basically expressed to him how disappointed they were in his behavior. Honestly, I was surprised by how completely her parents flipped. And even though it was disappointing how they all seemed to disregard the blatant racism he showed me for so long, it was really nice to have their support now. He got pretty mad that everyone was ganging up on him. But when my Phil said that if he didn't learn to treat me like family, he was going to be the one kicked out and not me, that really got him taking things seriously. My in-laws are fairly wealthy, so I think he was afraid of being disowned and disinherited. Even though I doubt that that would actually happen, he ended up apologizing. And although I don't know if it was sincere, it still felt pretty good to finally get that from him. I told him that he was still invited to the wedding, and although he wasn't going to be a groomsman, I did hope that we could move past things. He seemed to agree. Easter was pretty good the day after, and he didn't say anything even remotely snarky. Hopefully things stay that way. He's going to come over to my parents' place with her parents for Eid next weekend, so we'll see how he behaves then. Thank you to everyone who gave me such great advice. Relevant comments. Moving forward, I've already talked to my fiance about it. She actually still wants to disinvite him from the wedding entirely. I think the comments on the post really got to her, and now she wants to go full scorched earth on him. Even though he apologized, she's even said multiple times that she doesn't know what she would do if she ever found out that he said something to our future kids. But she says it wouldn't be pretty. It's honestly kind of scary. I'm not going to trust him to be the best brother-in-law in the world. But I also think he knows he can't get away with things. So I've held her back from that. I have agreed that we should make sure to keep an eye out for how he acts around our future kids. Whenever that happens. Did she ever apologize? Oh yeah. I definitely got an apology from her. Many, actually. She kept saying she was sorry for pretty much everything, even things that weren't her fault, but she was taking blame for anyway. This isn't a comprehensive list, but she apologized for asking me to make her broth a groomsman, even before she knew, not respecting my refusal, not cooking dinner the night we had our big argument. This one is so weird. Not noticing how poorly he treated me before, even though she did call him out and it was my fault that I said it was no big deal. Not acknowledging how serious his mistreatment of me really was, allowing her brother to bully me in the first place, before she even knew me. Like I said, not a comprehensive list, but she is definitely apologetic. More than apologetic, even. She held me very tightly the night I made that post she would not let go. Someone comments that they wish Oop had postponed the wedding because of fiance's actions. I don't really blame her for still pushing it even after I told her. She had a certain vision for her dream wedding, and it makes sense that she'd be disappointed if she didn't get to see it made a reality. She's already been accepting of the fact that we're also going to have certain Indian traditions and ceremonies, and it's not like those were exactly on her Pinterest board. She's still been enthusiastic about it anyway because she knows it's important to me and my family. I think she also was just hoping that I'd be able to fit into her family the way she'd always dreamed I would. There was really no way I was ever going to actually break up with her. At least not after she acknowledged everything. I'm really in love with this woman, and she would have had to do much worse for me to actually reconsider our relationship. But yes, she did only really take it seriously when she thought there was a chance she was going to lose me. which I don't know how to feel about. There was also no postponing the wedding. We're still in the early days of planning, and we haven't set a firm date yet. We have an idea for one, but nothing solid. I don't blame her for the comment she made about our future kids. It's natural that a mother would be protective of her children, even future children. I was willing to take his treatment of me, but I would have also lost it if I ever heard him say anything to our future kids. Hopefully this was a learning experience for you as well about being open and honest. I absolutely agree. My fiance actually got mad at me for not telling her the truth before. She said she was already head over heels for me at that point. Said it wouldn't have even mattered. But that way, I wouldn't have had to deal with him the way I have for the last few years. I've acknowledged my fault in that, and she's made me promise not to hide anything from her again, especially about how I feel. I wasn't sure whether to mark this as concluded or ongoing. Seeing as the wedding has not happened yet, I marked it as ongoing even though the initial question was solved. Somehow I don't see future Bill stopping his harassment. He is a bully deep in his soul. The original commenters were pretty unfair to the fiancé. Emo. By OP's own admission, he repeatedly told her it was all okay and he was fine with her brother. Even when she initially tried to defend him, this all came out of nowhere for her, and him being upset was viewed through the lens that OP lied to her for years about his feelings. I would be wary that Bill would try to pull some stunt at the wedding, especially during the Indian portion. This was definitely a hill to die on, but also a conversation that should have been had any time before the engagement. I hope the parents meant what they said, because Bill isn't done being a racist bully. Not by a long shot. Are you supposed to have your Bill as a groomsman? Because mine wasn't. I had people from my own life to stand beside me. I'm glad the ILs all flipped once they got the scope of things. I can see how they ended up where they did, especially before realizing that OP experienced it as bullying. If your kid assures you that this is just the dynamic they have with an old high school friend and they aren't contradicted, even something that makes you uncomfortable can be put down to being okay in this specific context. And now that they're adults, it's a fine line between letting them have their own relationships and still being their parent. Where in high school I know that you guys think it's funny, but that's still not acceptable. Talk can be easier to start. I think it's very generous of OP to give the brother one last shot now that it's very clear to him and everyone exactly how unacceptable his behavior was. Maybe he'll turn out to be a unicorn. And he genuinely did think OP was okay with it. People saying he should leave his fiancé over this are ridiculous. Redditor's man. Fiancé doesn't instantly accept you don't want her sibling in the wedding party because he was a dick in high school? Dump her. Insane. He is Italian. He has a very common American last name. Mention of typical American sitcom wedding. This family may have had Italian ancestors. But that's all. OP is a moron. Just like all the other morons who don't realize that by refusing to communicate to avoid drama, it actually causes the drama. People usually aren't gonna be on your side when you just cut someone important to them out without giving a reason why. Taking the high road doesn't make you a better person. It makes you an idiot. It's sad that the Indian cultural aspects of the wedding are still seen as a sort of burden on his fiancé in his eyes at the end. Hope that's not actually the case. The Fonz does not approve. Even her dad only cared about the situation as soon as OP brought up his potential bloodline. Getting treated like that. OP's partner has a chance to redeem herself genuinely. But her dad and brother? Does op simply not matter as a person unless a child is involved? I really hope they never have their children around that man. This is not even close to being over. As soon as that wedding rolls around, we'll get more updates. I don't have a good feeling about this one. Oop has some intense internalized racism going on to let someone who bullied him for 7 years of his childhood be a racist bully to him for 5 more years. The family is trash to not think being racist is a big deal because the victim doesn't react. And to only be upset by racism because it might someday affect their mixed grandchild? That's called being racist. It's also concerning that it took the fiance reading the thread to come around and not hearing what her brother did to her fiance. The brother is, of course, still a racist bully and not sorry at all. My husband is mixed. My immediate family aren't racist. But there are some in my extended family who revealed themselves when I got engaged. I cut off every single one of them and told everyone why. Oop has made an enemy for life here. The guy he bullied coming into his life again, marrying his sister, and threatening his place in his family and inheritance? This is going to get so much worse for Oop. Eid was on Friday. I'd love to know how that went. I wish Oop and his fiancée all the luck with their union. Their kids are gonna grow up with Indian and Italian cuisines. So jealous. I hate how so many comments jumped to dump the fiancé to the point she panicked. Oh my gosh. That sucks. I will never understand how POC genuinely put themselves into these positions and choose to be around racists for the sake of a partner. This won't end well, and the idea that he is willing to bring kids into this mess tells me he has no self-respect or self-love.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. EpicAriaCast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.